on this coming Thursday, everybody get in your mind Thursday, which is July the 27th, 2023, at 8 a.m., Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show. Got that correctly this time. That is this coming Thursday, July the 27th at 8 a.m., Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show. And we have made it easier for you to get or to hear Mr. Fuller, because all you have to do is come to our website at producejustice.com, and you can hear the entire interview with Mr. Fuller, so you can do that. Also, all the books are in, so you will have no problem in ordering the books, again, going to producejustice.com. Okay, I think that is all of the house cleaning that I have to do this morning. I'll repeat the announcement again about Mr. Fuller on the Carl Nelson Show repeatedly throughout the 2-hour program that we have here this morning. So good morning to all, and let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. And as my custom is, let me start off by saying good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, very strong. I like that, very strong. Okay, Mr. Fuller, you're still learning, and for those who do not know or who are not familiar with what we do, we have a small segment that we call the Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, what is on your mind this morning that you'd like to start off today's session with?
Well, just a little note that I've been carrying around in my mind, and that is I'm hearing a lot about the cost of housing, and apartment rents are going up in the northwestern hemisphere, and of course throughout the entire world, housing for the individual person is a problem. Most people are having a problem with wherever it is that they call their place of residence. People are being displaced all over the world, having to leave wherever they are and go someplace else. And when they go someplace else, one of the first things they're looking for is housing, a roof over your head. It comes in that form. And but I've been thinking also the codified view is...
Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
The codified view is that what is your first house? And the codified view of that is, in answering that question, your basic house is your body and mind. You as a person, you are a house. You have housing. Your mental housing is in what we call your head. And so you do have a household. You are holding that house, or rather your head is holding the house, meaning your brain. So that's your basic house. Your arms and legs and eyes and ears. This is all a part of your housing complex. And it is a complex. But it's basically simple in how you go about using it. And that is, one thing you don't want in any type of house is unnecessary clutter. Your mind should not be cluttered. Everything going on in your mind should be producing constructive results. And anything else that you acquire when you have what they call a physical house outside of your body, it should be the same way. You shouldn't have a lot of useless stuff as we say. And that's in your secondary house, and that's what you call housing that you try to get, where you keep your body at a certain temperature. You want your body to be warm in the winter, and you want it to be cool in the summer, so you have what you call that a wooden house or a brick house or what you call a structure, a real estate. But your basic real estate is your mind and your body. And you want to take care of that real estate first. So that comes in the form like the codified view is, that being your basic house, you want that basic house not to have a lot of clutter and not to have a lot of stuff that you got to sweep up and maintain and get rid of or not put into it that space that you have, meaning your mind and body, there's space inside of you where you get outside materials that are supposed to help to maintain that basic housing in a healthful manner. So you take care of your basic house by taking care of what most people call your health. So you don't clutter that up with a whole lot of stuff like we have a tendency to do. And many people, particularly in the northwestern hemisphere, are doing just that. And they're killing that, they're destroying their house with all that clutter. So this includes your relationships with other houses that are moving around in the form of what you call people. They have houses, their basic house, their brains and their body. Body and brain. This is all a part of your basic housing complex. So you want it all to be used every minute it is functioning, which is all given to you by whatever created you, to produce constructive results. So you want all your relationships with other people to produce constructive results anytime you interact in that neighborhood of housing. Because that's what people are. They're, you might call, mobile homes. So all of these mobile homes that are moving around, interacting with each other, these bodies and minds, you want it all to produce constructive results. So you have to be very, very selective. Just like when you go into a grocery store, you are selective about the items that you should be picking up. Very selective, and become more so that you don't leave there with a cart full of poison that is going to be toxic for your housing maintenance, meaning your body and mind, your basic housing. And then whatever other structures that you have that you call a part of your housing, extended housing complex, you want to declutter that too. And don't just keep getting stuff just because you see it and bringing it into that limited space that you have, because in your extended housing complex, you're going to have to move it a lot in the future, if not almost immediately. I know some people right now who are having problems trying to get that together in their minds because they are having to move from where they are to other places, and this might happen to you over an extended period of time. Whomever you are out there, you might have to move several times. So you don't want a whole lot of clutter that you have to move all the time because it's very expensive. And you don't want your basic house, I'm going to emphasize this again, to be a toxic place. Overweight, diabetes, and on and on and on. That's because of what you bring into that house. Try to have a grocery list that everything that you put in that basket is going to build your basic house up rather than tear it down. And these are the thoughts that I'm having initially this morning. I know I'm trying to do that.
Okay. Might call for some house cleaning. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. All righty. And with that, we will go to the phone lines. And let's start off going down into Houston, Texas with Cleo. All right, Cleo, let me see if I can move this over here, and let's see if we can get you in. Good morning, Cleo. You are on with Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, everyone. Long live NFJ and forever live Logic. As always, I'm so grateful to Mr. Bobby and Robert, Sharon Moonpie, the entire CRCS crew for your ongoing partnership with Mr. Fuller in this very important life work. Mr. Fuller, can you speak specifically to the logic and evidence that proves the existence of white supremacy in the people activity area of economics?
Well, you can't prove it. You can only tell people that you either say that it exists or that it doesn't. And many people say that this thing called white supremacy, that's not real. That the white people who consider themselves white nationalists or white supremacists, they're not supreme over anything or anybody. And a lot of black people say, no, they're not supreme, that the Creator is supreme. And that's true. And the white supremacists say that the Creator is supreme. But they say when it comes to black people, the white supremacist says, but we are supreme over you. That's our assignment. Because you don't have sense enough to even be supreme over yourself if you're black. You don't have any idea of what, you don't have an idea in your head about even how to spend the day. You got to have a white person tell you. Otherwise, you'll know how to do everything that's stupid and nothing that makes sense. Why? Because you have a badge that says so, a badge that you wear, and that's the color of your skin. It says that you're just naturally stupid and that you love stupidity. And so this is how people go back and forth about, well, that's not true of me. I don't consider myself as being stupid. But then the white supremacist says, yes, you are, because you come under me, and you don't know how to do anything without me holding you by the hand. And you're nothing but a beggar of me. That's your assignment. And I give you things in order to tell you what to do, and everybody that looks like you, and you don't ever tell me anything, because I don't have to do nothing that you say do with your dark self. I have white skin. That's a badge of power. That means I have the brains. I know how to come and go and get things done. And you depend on me to come and go and get things done. And the white supremacists are saying that more than ever now. They're saying, look, I don't have to put up with your foolishness if I don't have to. But then I train you to be foolish and to never do anything that's not stupid unless you're going to do it for me. And that's what you're here for on the planet. Now, that's the way they look at it. And so far, they seem to be proving it to be true, even though a lot of black people will say that that's not true. And people like Neely Fuller is saying that it's not true. I mean, he's not doing nothing but damaging black people, saying that, that there is such a thing as white supremacy. Now, it's not supposed to be that way. Neely Fuller does say that. But that's the way it is, simply because the white supremacists decided that that's what they were going to do. Do the world's business, all of the world's business for everybody, on the basis of skin color. And so they manufactured something called white supremacy. And they have made it the most powerful religion that the world has ever seen. And that's a fact. That's the truth.
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much, Cleo, for your call. Hey, listen, by the way, Cleo, between Texas Southern and Prairie View AM universities, there's Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. Please give my regards to Pastor Marcus D. Cosby of the Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church down here in Houston. Thank you very much, Cleo. Appreciate your call. All righty. Let's go to Blacktop in the NYC. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning, and what is your question?
How are you doing today, Mr. Fuller?
Still learning.
So I have a question for you. What is it about the white supremacists that seem to make them have more value for other races as opposed to the black race? So they target. Why do they target us the most for mistreatment?
What is it that makes them what?
Target people classified as black for the most mistreatment as opposed to other races.
Because that's what they choose to do. They have a hierarchy, and they're at the top of that pyramid, you might say, that hierarchy. It's just a form of royalism put on the basis of color. The king can do no wrong. And if you're white, you're a king or a queen. And if you are non-white, you're some type of servant of the people who are white, either directly or indirectly, in every area of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. All 9 areas of activity according to the code and according to the evidence. The white supremacist said, I was born to tell you people what to do, because you don't know what to do with yourselves. Just jump up and down and stand on your head, and like you don't even have a brain. So I have to make your body do what I use my brain as a white person and my body to control your brain and your body if you're a person of color. Black, brown, red, yellow, you come under the system of white supremacy. Meaning you're guaranteed to serve me and whatever I want. And I give you whatever I think you ought to have. That's why all over the world, you got your babies in your arms and all like that, and you're trying to find out what? You got one question in mind when you get up every morning, in the back of your mind or even in the front. Which way did the white people go? Because I got to catch up with them so that I can learn how to do something that makes sense. Because it's hanging around my own people, or what I like to think is my own people, I ain't getting nowhere but to a graveyard real quick. And even though the white people put me as a black person in the grave when they choose to, I will still get a better time getting there than I will being around nothing but black people. I'll have a hard time getting there all the way to the graveyard. And the white supremacists will even tell me where I'm buried, because they know more about that than I do. And they will preserve my grave if they feel like it. And we'll just look forward to preserving our graves, because we're closer to the grave even when we're born than anybody. Because the white supremacists will see to it that we get there real early. And we will see to it among ourselves that we get there as early as possible. That's why you get a whole bunch of black people together. The biggest thing in the event in their entire existence is killing each other. This is from the voice of the white supremacists. You see, because that's how these creatures are. You can't really say that they are people. They're creatures. So we make them as close to people as they possibly can, because a person is white. And these things called black people are basically animals. And they don't have as much sense as most animals. Now that's the white supremacist view of the world. And they have made that come true according to evidence, because they decided that that's what they would do. I don't know when it started, but it had to start somewhere, because it's still here. At some point in time, it started. And so Neely Fuller is saying that we need a code that will make that not true anymore.
Yes.
And replace it with a better system of governing the people on this splendid planet that we are all given by the creator of this planet. And some people say creators. I know I didn't do it. I didn't create the planet. Some people say that my ancestors did. I don't know. I do know what's going on now, because I'm a part of what's going on now. And I am a prisoner of war of the white supremacists.
Okay. All righty. Black Top at the top. Thank you for your call here. J2K2, you are correct from the chat room. J2K2 from the chat room, you are correct in that figures don't lie, but liars figure. Let's take a break. You are listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and we thank you for your participation, and we thank you for dialing up. If you'd like to contact the show and make a comment, you can do so by calling 516-453-9921. That is 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button and you will get in line to make your call or comment. Make sure you give your comment, your name to the call screener, so that I can identify you. And if you are a first-time caller, make sure you tell the call screener that, so that you can go right in there and you will be heard. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. It probably will not be read today, but you can do that. It will go in rotation also, and time permitting, predicated on the call volume, you will be heard at that time, and I will let you know. And, of course, you can go into the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. That's blogtalkradio.com. You want to make sure that when you get there that you want programming. Then you get the programming icon. You punch that in, and then you come up with shows. And the show that you want is the Produced Justice Show. You click on that, and the chat room is available for you to get in there. And I'm telling you right now, folks is in there today. Wow, that many. All right, good conversation are in there. And occasionally I will rip off something that has been brought up in the chat room. But do this. Do not ask me a question in the chat room to ask Mr. Fuller, because that's not what the chat room is set up for. Okay, an announcement for those of you who are just tuning in, and for those of you who have joined the chat. Thank you, 888. Mr. Fuller, now listen to this, Mr. Fuller, this coming Thursday, which will be the 27th of July, will be on the Carl Nelson Show at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, okay? 8 a.m., so make sure that you tune into that. And for an added attraction, Robert and the fellows and the women and the team have set it up that you can get it right here at ProduceJustice.com. So you don't have to scroll around and do all the other kind of stuff, unless that's one of your favorites. But it's right here, so you can do it. 8 a.m. on the 27th of July, 2023. Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show, so make sure that you tune in. All the books are in, so if you are in need of a book, you can certainly get that. Okay, back to the programming. Let's do this. This is a Gmail, Mr. Fuller. Let's see here. From Rachel. I'll put it like this. It says, Mr. Fuller, what are your thoughts on black men becoming stepfathers to kids that are not their biological children? There are so many, quote, single baby mothers, end of quote, out there. Do you think that men without kids should marry single mothers?
Well, if they can get along with each other, it didn't cause the first problem she had, and that is whomever she made those babies by in the first place, it didn't work out. There are reasons why it didn't work out. Now, the white supremacists do not intend in the future for any black male to be able to get along with black females, and that they will actually in the future, in the area of sex, for the foreseeable future, they intend for the black male and the black female to be completely alienated from each other, so that black females will be looking for husbands in the form of another black female, and black males be looking for the form of a husband in a white male. That's the plan. And so far, in many places, it's working. The so-called black family is not even supposed to exist as a family. That's the plan of the white supremacists long range. And they have already started executing the first part of that plan according to the evidence. And so far it's working, because black females are saying, well, I can do bad by myself. And hooking up with a black male don't mean nothing but more problems, because that's how I'm in the shape that I'm in now. That's what black females are saying. They load me up with babies, and then they can't do nothing but beat me up and scorn me and make songs of calling me names, even though I look just like their mothers. They're not calling their mothers names, but they'll probably be doing that in the future. So I just get with my sisters, and we cry on each other's shoulders and become soldiers for the white supremacists, because we'll be forced to become more and more masculine, and we'll fight in their armies and die early. But we'll have some luxuries before we do that, and we will get away from a little bit from all of this pain that we get from black males, because they don't do nothing but make everything painful for us, not looking forward to any kind of future for us, just thinking about themselves and what they can get out of whatever day that happens to be passing, and not thinking about any kind of future at all, and taking care of offspring. So in answer to the question, it depends on what the white supremacists have planned right now. And the code says we have to resist that. But if we, to the extent that we can, we get along with whatever black female we can get along with. And we should be trying hard to do that, just that.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, understanding the pressure that's going to be on all of us more and more from the white supremacists not to be able to get along with each other. Black males and black females are not supposed to be able to get along in the system of white supremacy. They're supposed to be alienated from each other. And all the black males who are trying to have what we call families, the white supremacists said, that ain't going to happen. You can forget about that. The black family is going to be something, just an idea that is no longer functional, because I will see to it that that's not going to happen. And it's proven to be true, particularly in the northwestern hemisphere and in other parts of the world, because you are my prisoners of war, all of you, male and female. And prisoners of war can't take care of anything. They're prisoners.
Mm-hmm. They're prisoners.
They're being taken care of.
Okay. All righty. Let's see here. Correction. That was Chris. Sorry about that, Chris. I called you Rachel, and Rachel had a question here, but that was Chris. This is Rachel, Mr. Fuller. She said this, Mr. Fuller. Now you say things you do, think, or say can either be constructive or non-constructive. Now, is there ever a time, Mr. Fuller, where things you do say, or you do say or think, are neither constructive or non-constructive?
No. And that applies not only to me, but to everybody on the planet. There's no such thing as in between. Something is going to be constructive or non-constructive. That's every minute, every breath that an organism takes is going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. Every time you move your fingers, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. There's no such thing as in between. As one songwriter once said, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between. There is no in-between when it comes to constructive effect or non-constructive effect. And every move that any creature makes is going to have that result.
Okay.
You breathe in, you breathe out. That's either constructive or non-constructive. Depends on what you're doing while you're breathing in and breathing out.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Going to Milwaukee. Corey, get ready. Let me cue you in. Okay, Corey, you are cued in. Go ahead. Good morning, and what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Morning.
Mr. Fuller, I'm experiencing that a lot of white people will be helpful towards myself and other black individuals for the sense of entertainment. I'm wondering, Mr. Fuller, what are some ways to address this with other black individuals who are associates, that we need to be asking for more constructive help from the suspected white supremacists, not just help in order for us to entertain them?
Yes, well, as prisoners of war, we are beggars, and we will remain that way until a system of justice is established. So when you're a beggar, you just beg. If you're in the field of entertainment, you just beg for whatever you think will be of most constructive value with you as an entertainer, if that's your assignment. If the white supremacists will say, well, I'm assigning you, if you want to get anything from me in the field of entertainment, well, you're going to have to get my approval for it. So as a beggar, a prisoner of war, if I'm an entertainer, I think I have some type of talent of some type. I ask the white supremacists now, Master, can I make my field lucrative in such a manner that I can not only entertain, but I can do it in a way that produces constructive results? Whether I'm a comedian or a musician or a combination of both or some other type of what people will label as entertainment. Can I make it constructive? I want to do something constructive, not something that's consistently non-constructive, which is what you as a prison master usually wants me to have in your prison, that type of activity. Something that's going to be harmful, something that's not going to help people do anything that makes sense. I'd like to sing a song every now and then if you would let me. I'm begging you to do it as one of your prisoners, that here in the prison system that I can sing a song that will help somebody who is in need of help do something constructive. Have some constructive thoughts about doing something constructive rather than something that's non-constructive. And you have to beg them, because that's the situation that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of no black person who's not a beggar. So somebody can inform me if there is such a person on the planet in 2023. Because like I said, I'm always still learning. And I've heard some black people say, well, what Fuller is saying, I mean, he's making us look so bad. I mean, and it just ain't so. And I'm saying that's what I keep seeing. And that's what I do. I beg. And I don't know of a black person who's not a beggar in the system of white supremacy. So that comes down to the question. Is Neely Fuller telling the truth? Because I just made a statement. There are no black people on planet Earth in 2023 who do not beg the white supremacists for whatever they get, either directly or indirectly. That's where it comes from. That is of any value. Now, if you know someone who doesn't, I'd like to know how he or she did it, because I want to do it. I think most black people would like to have that kind of power. I don't have to ask none of you white people for nothing, nowhere on this planet, at any time. I've never heard a black person say that and could prove it. I do what I please.
Yes, sir.
I haven't heard a black person say that. I don't have to ask no white person for nothing. I don't have to beg them for nothing. I don't even have to ask them. I got what I want, and anything else that I want, I can get it without going through them for anything. Not one of them. I haven't heard a black person say that yet.
Yes. All righty. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Before I get to you, Cleo, Mr. Fuller, let me ask you a question or a thought that has come up from the chat room. I'm not familiar with it. And I'm going to ask you, not that you are so scientific or whatever, but because the world is in such a state of confusion, do you know of any, or do trans women have a menstrual cycle?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything about any of that.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm still learning. When people can tell me what a trans is, what's the difference between a L and a Q, Neely Fuller does not know. I have no idea. Evidently, there's a difference. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a different alphabet. It would all be the same. Like there used to be this one category for people who weren't into what they call male-female, and that is gay. But somehow it looks like somebody's saying that there's a whole alphabet. There's A through Z. And there are two that have been added recently called A and I think, or something like that. I have no idea what this is. None. I haven't heard anybody say.
Now, I just heard you say that you didn't know what a trans person is or whatever, or nobody's ever told you or something to that effect.
Or what the procedure is, or none of that. I mean, for a person being trans. I don't know what the procedure is for doing that. They say you're going to transfer from one thing to another. I don't know what they're I have a vague idea that they're changing the sex, but how do you change sex? Do you cut something?
I don't know. Maybe they go to conversion.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't heard anybody say.
Okay.
The details of all of that is never described to me. I haven't heard nobody. I haven't seen anybody demonstrate how it's done. And what is the difference between one and the other? I was led to believe that lesbian is a female who is attracted to other females, and gay also a person who is gay can also be a lesbian. But then later on, somebody said, no, a lesbian is a lesbian, and gay is the male. The lesbian is the female. But that was implied. But no one has told me directly. See, I don't know what all these alphabets mean.
Okay. So if someone were to ask you, can you clarify that a trans woman is a man, what would you say to that?
If they would ask me, what is it?
Can you clarify that a trans woman is a man?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
See, I really, I say I'm still learning. But I ask questions, but I get vague answers.
Yes, sir.
To my questions. So I don't know what the alphabet rainbow sexuality is all about. Really.
I got you.
Except people are changing from one thing to something else. But what they're changing from is a male and female, and all the something else's. I don't know what that is.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, this is a follow-up. Wait a minute. Here we go. Cleo, you had a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bobby. Mr. Fuller, seeing as though we can't prove the existence of white supremacy, what specifically in the people activity area of economics have you observed that leads you to conclude that white supremacy exists?
Because anything that I want, for one thing, the time and energy. Basic economics, according to the code, is the use of time and energy. Now, the white supremacists have complete control of my time and my energy in the system of white supremacy. And I've been in that system even before I was born, because my ancestors came under them. That's in modern history. Now, a lot of people said it wasn't always that way. And that sounds logical, that when you say always, how many millions of years? See, so you're just talking about a time frame. So the way it is now, according to all of the evidence, is that in this time frame, particularly in what they call the year 2023, on this planet called Earth, the system of white supremacy is the only government worthy of the name among the people of this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the evidence shows it, because they have control in answer to the question of my time and my energy. I've been on this planet for what most people would say is quite a while. There hasn't been a moment that the white supremacists haven't had control of me. Not 1 minute. And how I use my time and energy. Because it's really not my time, it's my energy. Because they have confiscated it. And they did this before I was born. Told me where to, in 9 areas of activity. Economics, where I was going to work. What kind of job I was going to have. They determined that. Because they determined what I was going to learn in their system.
Mm-hmm.
They had the only teachers I've really had.
Mm-hmm.
They say, well, Fuller, you told me you went to an all-black school. Well, I went to an all-black school, but my black teachers taught me what the white supremacists wanted me to know.
Okay.
Otherwise, they would be disqualified.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A white curriculum. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
okay.
in answer to the question, that's what white supremacy means. When you say supreme, you mean just that. Control you completely. Who you can have sex with, all of that. And they still do that.
Yes,
even with all the trans stuff. They determine that, the white supremacists, if you're a person of color. You say, well, I'm doing this on my own. That's what you think. It goes to show you what an excellent job they have done.
Yeah, that reminds me of your opening statement of every program, but particularly the word confusion. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
If you don't understand white supremacy, everything that you do understand will confuse you.
Will.
That's a guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Woo, have mercy. Let's see here. Let's go 4 years back. Okay, James, in the Big D, Dallas, Fort Worth. You are in for 4 years? Okay. Welcome, James.
Yep.
What's your question for Mr.
I
Fuller?
appreciate you. Mr. Neely Fuller, I heard one of your conversations about the seventh area of people, activity, religion. And I've written this book on blacks in the Bible called The Complete History of Blacks in the Bible. And you were saying that basically after people, we're generally Christians because of the white supremacists indoctrinating us into this. And after people believe in Jesus, then there's a bunch of arguments and confusion and on and on and on, and that's true. But I just wanted to, you say I'm still learning. Micah 6:8 says, what does the Lord require of thee but to do justly, which is to produce justice. So I wanted to thank you for doing just that, even though you may know it or may not know it. You are fulfilling God's will. I just have one little BGQ, and I'll be out of your way. In this book called The Complete History of Blacks in the Bible, I have a chapter called It's Not the Curse of Ham, but It's the Curse of the Law on Hebrew Israelites. And I want to read this little section. It takes about 45 seconds. It says, the Lord shall bring thee with ships, and ye shall be sold unto your enemies. Because you would not serve the Lord thy God, the Lord shall bring a nationality against thee from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as an eagle, a nation whose tongue you shall not understand, which shall not regard your old, nor show favor to your young, and they that hate you shall reign over you. These curses shall be a sign upon thee and thy seed forever. All your labor shall be consumed by that nationality which thou knowest not. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters. Thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity, being cursed as the seed of thy body. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Your eyes shall look with longing for them. You shall be mad for the sight of your eyes, but there will be no might in your hand to deliver them. Thou shalt not prosper, but be oppressed and plundered evermore. Because thou did not serve the Lord thy God, the Lord shall send against thee, and have thee serve thy enemies in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. He shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. Thou shalt betroth a daughter, a wife, and another man shall lie with her, and you shall be mad at the sight of thine eyes. The Lord shall scatter you into all kingdoms of the earth, and there you shall be hated and a byword among all nations, where the Lord shall lead thee. All these curses shall come upon thee and shall overtake thee. This is an excerpt of Deuteronomy chapter 28. And this is why we're going through this hell, because the Creator is not unmindful that he's doing this to disobedient Hebrew Israelites. There were 12 tribes of Israel, only 2 of them.
Yes, we might have to cut this kind of short, though, sir.
Okay. All right, James, thank you. And you are correct. It is found in Deuteronomy chapter 28, 15 through 67. You are correct. Thank you, James. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay. All right. I tell you what, we are down to the so let me close this part of the program out. Look, for those of you who have to go, okay, thank you. You have fulfilled a lot. I mean, it is swelling up in here. Woo! Especially the chat room. But thank you for your call. Forgive me for the mistakes that I have made. I've made a lot today. But tune in next week if you have to go. But for those who have to stay, stay. So we had another hour. Mr. Fuller, last word as we close out the first hour.
Get rid of the clutter in your mind and in your body. And also the physical things that you think that you need. A lot of what you call stuff that's in what you call your environment. Mm-hmm. A little bit of niches here and there in what you call your housing or your house or your apartment. Start thinking about looking at the things that you have that you really don't need, and try to think about giving it to somebody who can really use it for constructive purposes.
Okay.
So you might have to move a lot. Now, this is the year 2023. If you're black, you might have to move a lot because the white supremacists got everybody on the move.
Yes,
you can't be stable if you've got black skin.
Yes, sir. Okay. That concludes the first hour of the Counter Racist Culture with Mr. Neely Fuller. So stay tuned for the second hour of the program, which will commence in 5 seconds. Okay, welcome back to the second hour of the Counter Racist Culture with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we certainly appreciate all of your calls and all of the views in the chat room. I mean, you guys have really been out of sight today. Really, thank you. Listen, now, for those of you who are new, and particularly the first-time callers, this is the number you call, 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button, and you will get in line. First-time callers, make sure you give the call screen your name also. You will get in line, but you will be heard. Trust me, you will be heard. In fact, everybody will be heard. We'll let you be heard. How about that? Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes, and you can also contact me to ask a question using my Gmail. That is at number 7, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com. It probably will not be read today, but at some point in time, depending upon the call volume, it will be read. And lastly, if you can get in there, man, the chat room is blowing up. Woo, blowing up. Get in there. Go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to make sure that you get into the program menu, and then when you do that, this is where you want to go. You want to go to shows. Get to the shows menu, and you want the Produce Justice show. Click that bad boy in, and that chat room is right there. You click on that, and you will see what I mean. They are in there today, and they are really doing it. I'm proud of them. I think this is one of the most that we've ever had in that chat room. And occasionally I will take something that has been said in the chat room. But, listen, don't ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller from the chat. I will not do that. But occasionally a subject will come up, and I will ask Mr. Fuller a question about it, such as one that came up about a trans person, and Mr. Fuller gave his answer on that. Yeah. Actually, he gives his answer at the top of every program I've ever done with him, which you heard, if you don't understand racism, right there. Yeah. Anyway, you can do that. But that's how you do. And one more big announcement. Listen, for those of you who have just tuned into the program, on this coming Thursday, which is the 27th of July, 2023, check this out. Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show. That's this coming Thursday, July the 27th, 2023 at 8 a.m. And the team at ProduceJustice.com has set it up so that you can hear the program on our site at ProduceJustice.com. So check it out. Check it out. I can hardly wait. Check it out. As a matter of fact, at the site at ProduceJustice.com, you can hear a lot of Mr. Fuller's shows. Oh, yeah. You can hear that. I wonder, maybe I'll ask Robert, is the Rock Newman program still on our website that Mr. Fuller was on the Rock Newman show? And they did put that up. Man, and that was a good interview also. But anyway, all of them there. Listen, all the books are in. All the books are in. If you haven't got a book or you need a book, go to producejustice.com and get the books. All of them are in. All right, no excuse. Get the books. All righty, let's go to the phone lines. I think they said, yeah. Go to the phone lines, and we're going to get some holler. And you know when I say holler, I'm talking about the dollar in New York. Okay, Dollar Bill, what's today's holler? Good morning.
Good morning. You know, I was wondering when you were going to get to me because you didn't call out the people who were on the wait list for the call. I was like, am I on this morning? Thank you, Jim. I'm so happy to hear you, Mr. Fuller. It's always a pleasure. Always talking about you and trying to just express, you know, the emergency behind your message or the message of following a code. Today I wanted to go to the book, and I'm glad that we've been talking about a little bit about marriage and sex. So I'm on page 180 and 181 in the original version of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept textbook workbook for thought, speech, and action for victims of racism, white supremacy, which I purchased from producejustice.com. And I wanted to talk about this, just ask a quick question. You're talking about marriage in this portion, and you give it's in the sex, and you give summation, but you said marriage is mutual and harmonious relationship between one or more males and one or more females. And then you go on to define that, and I'm not going to read all that because that was a light, so I want to get right to it. It says, what my question is, if you have a portion where you say on page 181, as long as white supremacy exists, try to discourage, disapprove of, and avoid all legal or formal so-called marriages between any person, any place, at any time. And then you give the reason for this and your explanation. So my question is, in reference to this, and then you give another summation. I've been trying to get my daughter and her young man, the father of my grandchildren, get them to get married. But then I read this and I was like, wow. So I want to know, how does legal marriages serve to help maintain the system of white supremacy? Because that's what you say. It helps to maintain the system. And how does lack of legal
marriage... Let Mr. Fuller answer that first question, Dollar Bill.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yes.
How does the legal marriages serve to help maintain white supremacy?
Yes, because the white supremacists say you come through me in order to get your so-called marriage validated, like everything that you black people do. If it's not okay with me, you're in big trouble. And your so-called marriage is non-legal. It's not binding. It doesn't mean anything. So I was writing for the whole world because I'm talking about every type of village where there are black people. Or to have a marriage, do you get the approval of the white supremacists? Well, indirectly, yes. So I was saying, to the extent that you can disrupt that, because that's very basic, male-female relationships. The white supremacists said, I'm supposed to govern all of that, whatever it's going to be, including all of the new rainbow divisions of gender and all that. I am in charge of all of that you black people are doing. I mean, the whole lesbian and gay thing, the rainbow thing and whatnot. The white supremacists said, as far as black people are concerned, you're thinking that you're making these decisions. I'm making these decisions for you because it's got to be good for the business of white supremacy. Any arrangements and any type of legal so-called marriages, everything that black people do sexually has got to be approved by me directly or indirectly, anywhere on this planet. So what I was saying with the code book is, to the extent that you can, make your own rules. That's basically what that means, of marriage. And put it under the banner which the white supremacists allow. They call it common law. So what does that mean when it comes down to each individual black person anywhere on the planet when they say that the white supremacists will ask, are you married? But they usually mean, according to my laws. But I'm saying the victims of white supremacy, to the extent that they can, should push back on that. Well, to the extent that we can, we determine when we are married. We used to have a saying in the Northwestern Hemisphere, we call it jumping the broom, which is exactly what black people would actually do. And when they'd go to a courthouse or something like that, they would be asked, are you married? Hey, Sambo, are you married to Miss Bessie? And he'd say, yeah. He'd say, well, where's your proof? He'd say, well, we ain't got nothing on paper because we can't read and write. And so I jumped the broom with her 60 years ago. We've been together 60 years. As far as we're concerned, we're together. And she's my wife. And you white folks call it common law. Well, I don't know about all that stuff, but I just know that me and Miss Bess have been together that long. And we got a lot of children and grandchildren. Okay? So I'm saying in the code book, to the extent that you can still pull that off, do it. Because everything that the white supremacists have for us, as far as they can, see in their future, in their interaction with us, this thing called white supremacy is supposed to last forever. It's not going out of business. They just refined it and modified it. And they saw that they was going to lose control in the area of sex if they didn't do something real fast. Those black males and black females will begin to kind of have something that would work without being bossed all the time, every minute, and everything that we would do in our sexuality. And the white supremacists said, I got to get a firm grip on black people's sexuality. And the one thing I'm going to do is scatter it all over the place so it's unrecognizable. Because if we can control their sexuality, it's much easier to control everything else about them, their whole economic side, the idea about economics, about entertainment, about education, labor, law. If you control people's sexuality, it's much easier to control them in all the other areas of activity. The white supremacists understand that. And in answer to the question, that's why I say you try to destabilize their plan, or their victims, meaning the non-white people of this planet, by disrupting all of these plans that they seem to be and really are proven to be working among non-white people when it comes to sex. And they reward it handsomely by having what we call sexual confusion in order to do what? Basically, to keep that black male and that black female in constant turmoil. Don't let them function together at all. because if they get that together, they'll start getting everything else together. And we white supremacists can't have it. So confuse them sexually.
Confuse
by
them.
even identifying when they are married and when they are not. Keep
There's
them
that word.
confused.
There's that word again, confusion. Dollar Bill, very, 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 very quickly, what is your second question?
What I'm going to say is this. I just wanted to know then, Mr. Fuller, since you feel that way, are there any benefits to marriage?
Okay.
For people that would be basically monetarily, just financially, I guess that would be the same thing. But are there any benefits?
Are there what?
He said, are there any benefits to people being married?
Yes, that's why I'm saying. See, these are just suggestions in the code book. Some places they don't apply. See, black people, their circumstances are all similar under the system of white supremacists, but not exactly. Like, you have black people in Nigeria, their relationship with white people and with each other won't be exactly the same as it is in other parts of what we call Africa. And it's the same all over the world. Like someone called in earlier and asked about the shades of people. Like the people who are categorized as Asian, the white supremacists say, well, I'll have some modifications. I won't interact with them in exactly the same way that I interact with them, these dark people, these people of color on the planet, from village to village. I'll have a plan for this village, a plan of white supremacy. It'll all come under our umbrella. That's different from my plan in another place. I'll let black people do this, that, and the other in the area of entertainment in one village, and I won't let them do it, that same thing, in another village.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because it's not good for business. It runs just like any gangster operation. I mean, or like the drug business. They'll say, we'll have fentanyl in this area, and we'll have cocaine in this area. Why? Because it's good for business.
That's right.
White supremacy is a business.
That's right. And by evidence of what you see right now, Mr. Fuller is exactly correct. The evidence is the fact, because that stuff is going on right now. Thank you, Dollar Bill. Thank you for your question, which is a perfect segue for this. Two things. Number one, especially for those who are in the chat room, Fuller, check this out, is on the Carl Nelson Show this Thursday at 8 a.m. Thursday is July the 27th, 2023. Mr. Fuller is on at 8 a.m. on the Carl Nelson Show, and you can pick it up by going to producejustice.com. You can hear that from 8 to 10. Fuller is on, which makes me go to another segue since that question was asked. Mr. Fuller, a lot of the questions, a lot of the things that have been discussed today are in your book. Perfect segue. Speak about your book and the suggestions that you have made in this book for the subjects that we're all hitting on right now.
Oh, well, I started writing the book simply because I was looking for something that would tell me what to do on the basics of every day. Thousands of books have already been written, and they're excellent books. That when I started writing my books, these thousands of books were available. I've only read this. I would never, in 10,000 lifetimes, I couldn't read all the books out here that are on race. And these books are valuable, all of them, if they touch on race at all. Even those that are written by the white supremacists themselves justifying white supremacy. They are valuable because when you know how your enemies think, That's always valuable to know and understand that. So when they write books about justifying white supremacy, those books should be read. But you can't read all of them because there's so many. So I tried to write one saying what the individual person can do about it, because I was looking for a book that had already been written. I say, where are the books that tell you what to do on a daily basis and what not to do on a daily basis, or even on a minute-by-minute basis, when black people interact with each other or when they interact with white people? What's the best thing to do? And what's the best thing to say? And what's the best thing not to do? And the best thing not to say? Where are the books that tell me how to do that or what to do? I want to know specifics, not a lot of generalities like the slogans that keep coming up. Like, we must unite. That's a slogan. But when it comes down to the details, no details. Where to go? What do you mean by unite? Unite by doing what? You got to do something. All that's always very vague. And most of the books that I would pick up, they would make excellent poetry. I mean, rhyming and all that, and a lot of the songs, so-called black patriotic songs and whatnot, would come up excellent songs, not criticizing them. They inspire you, but inspire you to do what? When? Where? What do you say when you're on the job? These are things that I wanted to know, and that's what started me to write in the code book.
Yes, sir.
How you interact with white people on a daily basis, things that you say, things that you don't say, things that you do, and things that you don't do. Now, when I first started writing code, a lot of black people, and they were justified in asking this question, because I tell people everything is about questions and answers, and they would say, well, Fuller, you writing a book called A Code about how to interact with white people and how black people should interact with each other. Fuller, don't you have sense enough to know that the white supremacists, if you put out a book, that they'll know what your plan is? I said, it's a counter-racist code. That was my response. I said, they will know everything that's in the book because they're the ones who got the book out for me. I mean, I depend on them to let me distribute it and all that. The white supremacists know everything about what I think because it's in my book. I mean, and they know everything even before I wrote my book because they understand the system that they're set up. Mm-hmm. And my book is a part of the system.
Yes,
even
sir.
though it's in a poisonous system, and the system of white supremacy is poisonous, the antidote to the poison is built into the system. So the white supremacists understand that type math. Mm-hmm. You might call it political math, okay? And so, but I said, but it won't work for the white supremacists. That's why it's called a counter-racist code. And you can get what my so-called quote-unquote contribution to that generic code by going to producejustice.com. And what is the code? Is it Fuller's code? No. I say it's based on logic. Logic is universal. So everybody who does anything constructive, you are doing something according to compensatory logic, meaning making up for what's missing. That's why I call it the compensatory code. What's missing are answers to the questions that needed answering. And I tried to do it in the code book. that you
Yes,
can
sir.
get by going to producejustice.com. And it's supposed to work for the victim of white supremacy on a daily basis. And if you want to be microscopic about it, on a minute-by-minute basis. Because every minute that goes by, that's a minute that will not be recaptured by the individual person. So every move that you make, every breath that you take, is supposed to have what? According to codified logic, a constructive effect.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. As I was sitting here thinking and listening to what you had to say, it reminds me of this word seems to be prevailing, or the theme of this particular program seems to be confusion, even though you mentioned about housing and so forth. But it kind of reminds me of the confusion in some of the people down in a particular state, I think it's Florida, have been trying to whitewash black history, speaking to the benefits, and I'm saying that sarcastically, the benefits of slavery. I don't see any benefits in the raping, robbing, and stealing, etc. But I do think about this, a quote from Nipsey Hussle, which just went off of my screen, and it just said this, quote, if you look at the people in your circle and you don't get inspired, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. Anthony, Nashville, you're on with Mr. Fuller.
Yes, good morning. I have Mr. Barber, you can take me off after I get done. I have a VGQ and I have a question. So my VGQ is based off of my research. I just noticed that ever since the TV was invented and ever since social media was invented, I've realized the side effects it has had on black people to the point where it's made us more non-constructive and it has fueled our self-hatred. And my question is to Mr. Fuller is, when I have discussions with suspected white supremacists, every time I talk to them about justice, their automatic response is, well, just go back to Africa, or, we'll just go back to Africa. So, Mr. Fuller, what would be your codified response to a suspected white supremacist who says that the solution is to just flee to Africa?
You would ask them, according to the code, you go actually directly to pages 171 and 172, just 2 pages in the basic textbook, the 2016 edition, the updated edition of the 1984 edition. And that is, on that page, you apply it to yourself first, but it also applies, in answer to your question, to a white person who says something like, go back to Africa. So basically you ask them the question, is that what you want me to do? Or what is it you want me to do? And you say, go back to Africa. Well, why do you want me to go back to Africa? That's the next question. And don't interfere with the answer. See, now, they have already told you they want you to go back to Africa. Why do you want me to go to a place called Africa? That's the next question. Then you ask the third question, and always let them answer, because you're looking for their answer, not your answer. How do you plan for me to go back to Africa? They want you to do something. They must have a plan for you to do it. And then the fourth question And these are 4 questions that will apply to anything that any people do, anytime, anywhere, at any minute of any day. And the 4th question is what you call the wrap-up question. What do you expect the constructive result to be of me going back to Africa? And then a long discussion around each one of those questions can come from that basic question and those 4 questions that came after that basic question, or rather the instruction. Those 4 questions. And the answers that you get should take everybody right where they need to be. That's a guarantee. That's why these 4 questions are so important out of everything written in the entire code, because they'll always take the answers to those 4 questions on any issue will always take everybody, not where they want to be, but it'll take everybody where they should be. That's a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
I've run tests on those 4 questions, and it ties people in knots who just make any kind of old statement this any kind of old way. And so when an answer to the question, when a white person says, go back to Africa, well, is that what you want me to do? Go back to Africa? Why do you want me to do it? That's the second question. How do you plan for me to do it? And the 4th question, what can I expect the constructive result to be? Or what can you expect? What's going to be the constructive result? Go back to Africa? Where? When? There's a lot of details. See, when a person makes a suggestion like that, these 4 questions, like I said, are guaranteed.
Guaranteed, yes, sir.
When the answers start coming, and anybody can answer who thinks they know, it's going to take everybody where they need to be in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe it, try it. And that's on anything. But a person would say that to me, because based on those 4 questions and the answers that will come, will be more questions.
Okay.
And these questions will have answers. And the answers just start coming automatically.
Yes, sir. All right, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a little teeny-weeny break, and then we're going to get back to it. You are listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and we thank you for doing it. We have about 30 minutes left of today's program, and so if you would like to get in contact with the show, here is the number, 516-453-9921, and if you have a question or comment, press the number 1 button and you can get in line. And when you do that, please give your name to the call screener, such as the person in the area code 332. I don't have your name up yet. And also the person in area code 815. Want to get you in here, but I don't see your name on my screen, although it says you have a question, so I would like to address that. Okay, so make sure you do that. Okay, Justin, gotcha. Okay, good. All righty. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Now, the chat room, yes. Man, the chat room, you got to get in there. I mean, they are really having some intelligent conversations in there. Good. Very good. This is the most callers I've ever seen in the chat room. Go to blogtalkradio.com. And then you want to click on where it says program. Get the program menu. And then when you do that, click on the Produce Justice show. That comes under the show menu. And then the chat room is available on that. And you can get in there and give your 2 cents worth, if that's all you have. But anyway, you can join the conversation. And occasionally I will pick up something that might be interesting to add to the program. Mr. Fuller talked about the housing crisis in here that we're experiencing all across this concept. But he spoke also about your house, your body is the house. He spoke about that. That was in the first hour, and how you should clean that up and get all those toxic things out of there, that we ingest and all the other kind of stuff. Anyways, very, very good. Very good analogy, Mr. Fuller, very good. So you might want to do that. Listen, Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show on this coming Thursday, the 27th of July, 2023 at 8 a.m. And ProduceJustice.com has it all set up that you can listen to the interview right there. So make sure you do that. All the books are in. Thank you, Danelle. All the books are in, so you can get the books by going to ProduceJustice.com and all the other shows on there. Folks, we're all still learning. Let's just kick the ballistics on that. We are all still learning in this world of confusion, as we are victims. Now, some of us of racism. Some of us don't believe that. But anyway, you get the book by going to ProduceJustice.com and read it. That you feel is relevant to you, because these are just suggestions that Mr. Fuller has made. You may not like that, may not feel that, and you don't have to. A lot of times you'll ask Mr. Fuller a question, he'll tell you, I don't know. And that's okay, too. That's a part of it. But that's how if you want to know anything, what does he always say? Ask questions and answers. Okay, I think that's it. Okay. Let's go out to the left coast, and my man Swa. Long time no hear, but he's on here. Get ready, Swa. Here we go. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby. Greetings, Mr. Virginia.
Yes, sir.
Neely Fuller Jr., can you share your thoughts on the word God, the word creator?
The word what?
God and creator.
Now, what do I mean by it?
Can you just share your thoughts on those two words, God and creator?
What's the difference in me? I'm trying to get, what is the question you're asking? Is there a difference between God and the creator?
Yes. Can you explain?
No, I mean the same thing. See, the creator of the universe and everything else that we know about, the creator and God, Allah, the Great Spirit, it's called different, whatever you're looking at, including yourself. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, something created that. I mean, if you're listening to something, that's something called sound. I know I didn't do it. I haven't run across anybody who claimed that they did it. So whatever did it can be called by a number of names, because there are tribal names all over the world. There are thousands of tribes, and they have different words that mean the same thing. God, the creator. I have a limited number in my vocabulary, but I just use the terms that have been given me. The creator in capital letters, God, Allah, the Great Spirit. So it all means the same thing. Whatever created, whatever you're looking at, I know I didn't do it, and I haven't, and I don't see anybody walking around who said, I did all this. I made the trees. I made the sun and the moon. I did it. Not somebody else, not 1,000 years ago or whatever. My name is William Jones, and I created the sun. I haven't heard anybody claim that. I've heard people claim that their ancestor did it, but my ancestor now, according to what I have written in the textbook, whatever created me is my ancestor. That is my genuine ancestor. That's whatever created me. Based on what, Fuller? Logic. Because I can't claim that I created myself. I can claim that. Some people say I'm self-created. Wasn't nothing here before me. I mean, I did it all. There are some people who claim that, but they don't have any credibility with me. That's my choice. I choose not to believe that. A person says that, you created yourself. Yeah, I created myself. And I created you, Fuller. And I created everything that you see. I haven't heard no person say that they have done it. So something happened, and I say that's functional enough for me. Because I know I didn't do it. And I have no reason to believe that people, and I have it in the book, I have no reason to believe that people create anything, that people arrange what is already here. You hear some artist say, this is one of my creations. No, you didn't create that. I mean, you painted it, but you didn't create it, because you made it out of paint. You made it out of something that's already here. You say, well, I made the paint. Yeah, but you made the paint out of something that was already here. I don't know of any person that created anything. But that's my belief.
Yes, sir.
And I put that in the textbook in answer to your question. Whatever I'm looking at, somebody called, I say, the creator. That's where it all came from. A grain of sand. I didn't make it. That's why I always say I'm still learning. A creator is not still learning. A creator knows it all. There ain't nothing to learn that the creator doesn't know. That's an assumption of mine. I might not know what I'm talking about, but I think it's an excellent guess until I learn different.
Okay. Thank you, Swa. I heard it said, thank you, Swa, for your call. I heard it said, and I'm still wrapping my head around it, about the Creator, and I personally do believe the Creator, but that doesn't affect anybody else. But the Creator is so powerful that he created nothing, if you could wrap your mind around that, created nothing into something so that we could identify the something that was created from nothing. That just, I'm still trying to get that, but I believe that. Nothing into something. All righty. It says Danielle, so I'm going to say it. Danielle, you're on the screen, and here we go. Let me see here. You're on the Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Okay, going once. Danielle, are you there?
Good morning, Mr. Barney. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Is it Darnell or Danielle?
It's Darnell.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, according to the code, why is it important for the victims of white supremacy to understand that the white supremacists each play a role in the overall system, and everybody has to participate?
Because in order to take something apart, you have to know how it's put together. That's why I put in the front of the book, the textbook. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, because white supremacy is the only form of functional racism, if you don't understand what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. And so that black people, when it comes to racism, are the most confused people on the planet when compared to white people. All non-white people are confused because we don't understand white supremacy, and that's why we're subject to them. When you understand how something is put together, you will know how to take it apart. We haven't proven that we know how to take racism apart. Racism is the dominant government among the non-white people of planet Earth. The evidence shows this.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know how it's put together.
Mm-hmm.
We have to find out. Once we find out how it's put together, in every area of activity, we'll know how to take it apart.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fuller, right there, what you said putting together, I think you spoke something about an airplane or how to fly when it wasn't done. Somebody thought about that and put that together to be able to, asking the question, well, this is what I want to do. Why did I want to do it? And how do I plan to do it and all that? How does that factor as an example into what you just said?
Because that's how inventors invent. They start off saying, what is it that I want to do? Well, I want to fly. Well, I ain't got no wings. So how are you going to fly without wings? I want to fly like that bird. Well, you might can fly, but not like that bird flies. I mean, you can get some wings, but trying to make them flap, that's a little bit beyond your intelligence. Now, they might be able to do that sometimes in the future, but then in the interim, they found out a way, well, I can make wings without them flapping, because the wings flap in some type of coordination. They have some type of harmony with the wind. So if I can make something similar to that and then put something on those wings that will blow air, wind, up under the wings, I can make that hunk of metal fly. And I can do the same thing with a person. I can't make the wings flap, but if I can have something attached to the person or attached to something else that's attached to something else, I can ride on or in whatever it is I'm riding on or in onto the wing, onto the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody thought of that. And now we have what they call aeroplanes.
Yes, sir.
Aero meaning just that, air.
Yes,
you
sir.
have to have air in order to make things, and then somebody found out, well, you can make something called a rocket that pushes air, pushes against air pushing against air. You might have hot air pushing against cold air, and that makes something go through the air.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody just asking questions.
Somebody asking questions, yes, sir.
Yeah. How can I make a person fly, go over the mountains, like I see the birds doing?
Yes, sir.
Because before then, people took years just to get around one mountain.
Over time, yes, sir.
Yes, over time. Now you can do it in 5 minutes, just like the birds do.
Yes, sir. Outstanding. Outstanding. You hear that, 888? Over time. That's for all of us. Justin, in the 815, Illinois. Get ready, Justin. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Justin, what is your question?
Hello?
Yes, sir. You're on. What is your question for Mr. Fuller? You need to cut that down in the background because we're competing against that. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting on y'all to get to me for so long. So, I just want to speak to the topic of are all white people racist? He said that some senile people may forget to be a white supremacist, but I, in my experience, have experienced that they still remember that you are a nigger, you know, and you still got on that uniform, that black skin, and they know that if they don't know anything else. That's just my VGQ.
Okay, so was there a question in there, or that was just your VGQ?
That was just my VGQ, and I
okay.
Was like,
all righty, thank you. All right, VGQ from Justin there. Okay. Now, this book that Mr. Fuller has written is a book of suggestions, and you can get the book by going to producejustice.com, which is very important that you do that, so that you can get what you need from that. Let me see here. I'm looking for a Gmail here, and I think okay. All right, here. Well, wait a minute. Let's see if this is too long for radio. I'll have to ask him for an edit. Let's see. Do this one. Okay, let me see here, and just bear with me for a second. Okay, I'll do this one. It said, Mr. Fuller, good morning. I'm Tony Mack from Houston, and the question I have for you, Mr. Fuller, is why is it that on social media and etc., so-called blacks give more views to negative posts and comments than those that are constructive? Thank you, Mr. Fuller, and I'm still learning.
Because black people are taught to be non-constructive people unless a white person is making them be constructive. That goes with the system of white supremacy. Black people on their own are never supposed to do anything that we loosely call, in a slang way, make sense. A black person is never supposed to make sense in the system of white supremacy unless a white person is standing over them with a whip, hitting them over the head with a log or something, or slapping them in the face with the barrel of a gun. And say, now I'm going to make you do something that makes sense, because you will never do it on your own. You black people worship nonsense. But what they don't say, where do we learn to do nothing but worship nonsense? We learned it in the system of white supremacy. So they're accusing us of being everything that they have taught us to be. They are the source of it. And all the evidence shows that. You say, well, what were we before white supremacy? Well, we weren't the type of people that we ought to be, according to logic. Because people, period, white or non-white, were never the quality of what people ought to be. Some biblical scholars said, well, they once were, but the first people messed up. The very first people, and they've been messing up ever since. So the only difference is just the style of messing up. And that's never been straightened out since the first two people messed up to start with. Now that's in what they call the King James Bible in the Old Testament, so I've been told. And then other people of other religions say, well, no, that's not quite the way it happened. And so you have what they call religious wars. But when it comes to black people being what you call incompetent and being people who for some reason just don't want to do nothing that we say in loose language, make sense. Just don't want to do it. Go out of the way to do everything that doesn't make sense. And then try to glorify it. Write songs about it. I'm going to do something stupid. And I'm going to encourage everybody around me to do something stupid. And if they don't want to do nothing stupid and they look like me, I'm going to put a hurting on them to make them stupid like me. Because stupidity is what people that look like us is supposed to glorify. Find something stupid to do and do everything that you can possibly do in connection with worshiping stupidity.
Wow.
And that's what the system of white supremacy is designed to do to the minds of black people worldwide, 24/7.
Absolutely. Okay. All righty. All right. This is, I think this is the last question, but we'll go with here. Let me see here. This is sent from Ray. It says this, Mr. Fuller. It says, Mr. Fuller, what is the universal sacrifice that a quantum number of victims of racism will have to endure in order to compel the white supremacists to produce justice? And is there any sacrifice needed at all?
I don't know. That's what we'll find out in the process. May not be any sacrifices at all. What black people call sacrifice sometimes is just doing something that makes sense. Because we got to take into consideration what I just said a while ago. We are trained to do things that do not make sense. And that causes all kinds of, anytime people are doing things that are stupid and are silly, and they glorify worshiping things that are stupid and silly, things don't work out. Because in order for something not to make sense, it's going to have to be something that's not constructive. Those are the best words to express it. Constructive, non-constructive. Black people should be looking to do everything that is of constructive value. And we go past just being smart black people or wise black people. We go to be into an era where no one is gone, and that is universal man working in absolute harmony with universal woman.
Yeah.
That's the ideal situation.
That's the ideal situation. Okay.
And nobody has attained that. White people haven't, and non-white people haven't.
Okay. All right. Let me close it out with this. Mr. Fuller says, Mr. Fuller, what do we do, Mr. Fuller, when the order of the day is tacky, tragic arrangement? Some black people and females have accepted tackiness as the status quo. Seems black females appreciate tackiness and trashiness. They don't seem to respond well. They don't seem to respond to a well-mannered, logical approach. It's mostly money they respond to. If you're a male and have money, they respond to you, regardless of your mental capacity. That is why all the criminals, black people get females they desire.
Yes, well, the white supremacists are the cause of black people having money, being by doing things that are criminal, doing things that are non-constructive, by killing other black people. Okay? So it's all of us. It's not just black females. If you're a victim of white supremacy, if you're under the jurisdiction of the white supremacists, you are a very non-productive people when it's only the white supremacists that will allow you to do anything of constructive value. So the white supremacist says, no, I'm not going to allow you black people to even think constructively.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you how to do everything that's non-constructive and have you giggling about it and thinking it's a big deal.
Okay. Got to leave it there. So, Mr. Fuller, thank you for all that you do and all the callers. We made a lot of mistakes today, but we apologize for that, Mr. Fuller. And don't forget, producejustice.com to get all the books. Mr. Fuller, I'm going to give the last word to you. Take it away.
That is just that. Go to producejustice.com and get the basic textbook and then the word guide that's also an extension of the basic textbook if you choose to do so. And try to get something out of it that hopefully will solve your problems as an individual.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not doing its job.